So let us take a step back and think a bit broadly about where are we going with this idea of matching. So far we have been seeing how matching has been kind of like applied to various markets and thinking about how to improve those markets, right? So what is the relationship of markets and matching more generally, right? Now, if you have taken any other economics courses, right, you would have seen that the traditional way in economics of analyzing markets is to use what is known as the supply demand framework, right? So there, the idea is that you are going to have prices which are going to have an adjusting factor, right? So that prices will keep on adjusting till supply equals demand, and that's how allocation happens, right? So people who can pay enough price to buy a good, they'll be able to buy the good, and supply will be an increasing function of price and so on, right? However, in a lot of cases, the standard market mechanism encounters problems. And in fact, there are cases where prices cannot be used at all to allocate resources, right? So it is not the case that when you're thinking about how admission to different colleges and universities happen, it's not the case that universities just keep increasing the fees that they charge till only the people who are able to afford to go to college are the ones who are able to go to college, right? That's not how typically admissions to universities and colleges work. Similarly, in the case of how human organs for transplants are decided, it's typically not via who can pay the most for buying, let us say, different body parts, right? So those are typically ruled out on ethical grounds. So there again, prices have very limited role, right? But even so, in these cases and in many other such cases, you still require an allocation to be made, right? You still need to figure out a way of allocating students to different colleges, a way of allocating, let's say, kidneys to different patients who needs them. So how do you kind of like come up with a way of designing such an allocation mechanism, right? That's the broader question where we are thinking of in terms of matching. So to give you another example where matching was applied, so this is in the context of matching students to high schools, right? So again, we are talking about an example which Alvin Roth studied, right? So this was in the high school situation in New York, right? Where you have got basically people who are passed on from their middle school and they're applying to high schools, right? And these are applicants who are applying to government high schools, right? So up until 2003, they were asked to rank their 5 most preferred choices, right? And after this, the lists were sent to the various schools, right? The government high schools for which they had applied, right? Then the schools, on the basis of this information, decided which students to either admit, reject, or place on waiting lists. And finally, this process was repeated in 2 more rounds. And then students who had not been assigned to any school after the third round, right, they were allocated through an administrative process, right, not through a process involving the schools making any decisions, right? The problem is that this process did not provide the applicants with enough opportunities to list their preferences. And the schools also did not have enough opportunities to make offers, right? And as a result, around 30,000 students per year ended up at schools they had not even listed among their preference rankings, right? So you can see that that is a lot of inefficiency, right? The other problem here was that the process also gave rise to a lot of misrepresentation of preferences, right? So students had reasons not to be honest about which schools they actually wanted to go up to, right? Because the schools that were more likely to admit students who rank them as first choice, right? We can clearly see the incentive of the schools to do that. Then students who actually wanted to go to a particular school but thought that that school was not realistic would not really rank their preferences honestly, right? They would try to kind of game the system by thinking, okay, which school is more likely to admit me if I am ranking them as the first choice, and then accordingly they would actually kind of like change how they report their preferences, right? So on the other hand, applicants who simply reported what their true preferences were for different schools, they ended up getting unnecessarily poor outcomes. So overall, we can see clearly this allocation process was not working well, right? So what Alvin Roth and his colleagues did in 2003 is that they helped to kind of like redesign this admissions process. And they basically used applicant proposing version of the gale shapley algorithm that we have studied, right? And in fact, the new algorithm turned out to be working much better, right? With a 90% reduction in the number of students assigned to schools for which they had no preferences, right? So compared to this number 30,000, that went down by 90%. So clearly a better system, right? As a result of the success here, it led to kind of like more and more places in the United States using such mechanisms for matching students and high schools, right? Okay. So one objection that might be there is that, okay, we understand that, kind of like this matching process works, matching algorithms work well when you do not have kind of like prices to think about. But in a lot of markets, you do actually have prices to think about. So going back to the market for doctors, you do have like hospitals can also compete by offering different salaries, right? So does that mean kind of like this insights that we have studied this week are not applicable to such setting? Not necessarily, right? In further kind of like work, Lloyd Shapley and others have examined how you can like extend the original model, right? But now allow for prices, which would, for example, be salaries in the market for doctors to be part of the offers. And it turns out that the algorithms, including prices, work in pretty much the same way and produce stable matches with broadly similar features, right? So you can also incorporate prices in the matching process that we have discussed, right? It turns out that when you have prices and matching, this is like becomes very close to auctions, right? I think you have already been introduced to the topic of auctions. The idea is to match objects and buyers, right? Where prices that are bid by the different buyers are decisive, right? So these now are connected, right? So when you have matching and prices, these become very similar to auctions, right? And research that relates matching algorithms to auctions have actually kind of like a lot of interesting theoretical results, right? Some of which we will probably see later on when we discuss auctions, right? So one particular area in which a lot of this application of matching happened, and especially its interaction with auctions, was in the area of internet auctions, where search engines were trying to auction out spaces for different advertisers, right? So their thinking of the market as a matching market actually kind of like turned out to be pretty insightful, right? And as a result of that, often a lot of companies in that business kind of like ended up hiring economists who were experts in these areas of matching and auctions to kind of like design new ways of creating auctions, right? And this combination of matching and auctions are actually the foundations of an entire area in economics called market design, which is, I think, at this point, one of the most interesting areas where a lot of developments are happening. So we'll look at auctions later on in the course. So there we'll again kind of like talk about, perhaps if we have time, about how these two concepts are related. So the material that we covered this week has two references. So one is this book that is listed on your course webpage as well, called Insights into Game Theory. So chapter 1 of that textbook might be something that you might want to look if you have time, but we have covered most of the things in our lecture anyway. And the second thing that we have been talking about, especially the practical part, so that the reference for that is this 2012 prizes in economic sciences. So if you go to the Nobel website and look up the 2012, so this is the link that is there. So this is the information that is designed to be read by the general audience, right? So this is something that was also used in the preparation of this lecture this week.